Coffee and wine and yoga. Yes, Julia, you're speaking my language. All right, wonderful. So it is 9:31 over in San Francisco. We'll go ahead and get ready to roll. Thank you guys for all the comments. It's always so wonderful to see everybody dialing in from all over the world to join us for these webinars. Sayo is here from Nigeria. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And we're very excited to talk through a topic that is very near and dear to our hearts at Blueboard. We're going to be talking about the power of recognition during times of separation. A lot has changed over the last few weeks. A lot has changed even since yesterday. But what binds us together now more than ever is the need to be connected, the need to feel well, and the need to really be seen and valued from everyone we work with, especially when we don't have those moments to see each other at the office every day. So what we're going to do is talk through a few things, and I'll go through an agenda in just a moment, but really looking for opportunities to stay connected again, whether through your internal tools, whether through rewards and recognition, and we're super excited to have everybody online with us. Now looking like about 300 people, which is great. We have a wonderful round of leaders here from Blueboard joining us. Kevin, I'll kick it over to you first. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name's Kevin. I'm the co-founder and COO at Blueboard. And, you know, when we started Blueboard, it was really to help people live their fullest lives, right? Discovering themselves while kind of discovering the world around them, right? And how do you live a full life when, if you think about kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Kind of your basic needs, like health, are being threatened, right? And so I believe that people can, and I believe companies can help, right? And so that's what I'm excited to talk about today. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. And we have Michelle Makowski, who is our brand new head of curation. Welcome, Michelle. What are you excited to share today?
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to talk about how we've invented some ways to make at home feel as adventurous as going out and about.
Love it. Thank you, Michelle. Michelle is 3 weeks in with Blueboard, and we're like, come join this webinar. So she is challenging her comfort zones today. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. And then we have Shannon. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm the head of people at Blueboard, and I'm just really excited to talk about some of the things that we have started actually doing internally, some tips and tricks for how we've adjusted to our new work from home reality and our maintaining our culture and building our culture of recognition during this time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shannon, for being here too. And for those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Morgan Cheney. I run our marketing team here at Blueboard. And like I mentioned before, recognition is so important now. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to share kind of the state of the state, what has been changing and what is most important, for our people today. Kevin's going to dive into that here in a second. We're also going to talk through just the power of recognition, how it helps build connection, how it builds community and well-being for your people. As Michelle mentioned, we're going to walk through our new line of in-home experiences, which are going to be ways, just like Michelle said, to still bring that adventure into your home in places that are most meaningful to your employees right now. And then Shannon will walk us through, again, some of those fresh ideas and how are we exactly building community, keeping people well and vibrant while we're separated at Blueboard. We will have time for live Q&A at the end, so a little bit of housekeeping. Feel free to use the chat. If you do have suggestions, I will be asking for some of your own recognition ideas later on. Feel free to share those publicly by toggling to all panelists and attendees whenever you share your submissions. That way, the group can all benefit from what you're wanting to share or questions you're asking. You can also turn to the Q&A, but the chat is a little bit more lively, so we welcome you to leave questions there. Our lines will be muted, so if you do have questions, again, please turn to the chat tools. We'll do our best to answer your questions as we go through the content or towards the end. And if you do have to drop off at all, we are recording this and we'll be doing a full recap and recording shared out on our blog next week. Everybody who registered for the event will get the recording by default, so you can look forward to that in case you need to jump early. For those who are collecting the SHRM certification code, we will have that at the very end, so feel free to stick around for that. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to let us know on the chat. So as we go forward, I'll pass it over to Kevin. He's going to walk through kind of the state of our workplace, what's been changing for not just our company, but also for our people. Welcome, Kevin.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for being here, and wanted to start it off by just, hoping that, you and, your families are staying safe and healthy. Right now it's an unprecedented time, right? And one that really no one alive has actually really lived through, right? At this global scale, right? COVID-19 is really scary, right? It's shaking society, our economy, and people at the end of the day, right, aren't feeling that physical and psychological safety. And so it's changing, the way we live. Omar, do you go to the next slide? Yeah, it's changing, the way we live. All of us hopefully are, taking this webinar from home. And I know many of us on the line, right, we're probably really responsible for coordinating kind of the move to a work from home. So I want to really applaud you. I'm feeling super encouraged by companies' response to kind of swiftly make this change. It's absolutely made a huge difference in kind of mitigating the spread. And so, I think people on this call are really part of the solution. So thank you. But amidst all this change, right, the way we're used to connecting with others, feeling part of the communities we care about, right, being in person, that's actually really dangerous for our well-being, right? And so this move to a more solitary lifestyle, right now, kind of with strict social distancing, inevitably creates anxiety and stress kind of for people feeling cooped up inside, right? I know it does for me, right? And that can lead, over time to emotional isolation, heightened feelings of loneliness, right? And so given this change in our environment, right, how we look at what's important within our companies at work, right, and with our people needs to be revisited, right? We need to look at things that are important now from our current context. For companies, the first is about creating connection, right? We need to be incredibly purposeful in how we create connection amongst our employees, right? We can't really rely on those in-person interactions anymore, right? Passing somebody's desk and having a conversation, having lunch with your team. These interactions feel like a blessing right now, right? And something that I kind of look back and I might look back and like, dang, I kind of took that for granted, right? And so we have to be very intentional with how we design connection. And the second piece is valuing our people, right? It is difficult, it is challenging to stay focused through work, right now. When you're cooped up inside all day, you look at your phone and you might see the latest, new number of cases in your neighborhood. When you're kind of making sure your health and the health of the people you love are come first, right? It's hard, it's difficult, right? And so people in your company are either plowing or more likely trudging kind of through this difficult time to get stuff done, right? And so you as a company need to kind of see and acknowledge their work, right? For people, taking care of your own health and well-being and those closest to you is number one, right? It is of utmost importance. Secondly, it's important for us to connect and feel part of the communities we care about, right? And so, in this kind of way, in how we connect with those communities, right, is going to help us overcome kind of this physical and kind of emotional isolation, right? And so the question that we've been asking ourselves at Blueboard, and I think many companies need to ask themselves, is like, what can they do? What can companies do on all fronts, to help, right, despite this current environment, right? And so one way and an effective way to do this is to recognize and value your people in a way that, one, drives connection amongst your people, right? Builds up the community within your culture. And two, gives them the opportunity to actually take care of their own well-being. And so, I've been super proud of our team who have really, pivoted on a dime to figure out how to make this happen kind of in our current situation. And so I'm going to pass this off to Michelle, who's going to talk a little bit more about our in-home experiences.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. And Morgan did mention at the beginning, I'm 3 weeks in to Blueboard, and I was so excited to say that I have one of the coolest jobs in the world, and that is designing reward experiences for people all around the world to get out and about, and rewards that are personal and memorable. And so then 2 weeks ago happened, and needless to say, this new normal said, wait, we can't send people out and about. Everyone needs to stay at home. It really challenged me and our team for obvious reasons. It's just not safe, and it's not relevant right now to be promoting going out and skydiving or wine tasting or any exotic trip. But we really, as a team, collaborated, we regrouped, we really talked through this and decided that we, as Kevin just mentioned, we agreed it's just more important than ever to still deliver on our promise, and that is to create personally rewarding experiences that have a meaningful impact on people's lives, even if they're stuck at home. So we got busy and we launched this new menu, and I'm excited to share it with you today. Our new in-home experiences are really still designed to help people learn something new. Music lessons, art courses, languages, a variety of different learning opportunities are on our new menu. We still are focused on helping people indulge in their passions. So honing in on their cooking skills or photography or creative designing or gaming, improving your well-being. Everyone's stressed right now, and things like yoga, fitness, meditation are great tools to try to alleviate some of that stress. And we think it's important to connect with family. I'll talk a little bit about one of my favorite experiences that does this. There's some cool creative do-it-yourself projects out there with science and gardening and a variety of others. Your employees get to choose what is meaningful and personal to them. And that is what is really exciting about the Blueboard experience. So I'm gonna walk you through a few of my favorites right now. The first one is around turning your home into a lab. So working families are spending a whole lot more time together these days. We have a 13-year-old at home who really just wants to play Fortnite all day. And all on our devices, but we created something together as a family. Maybe we design a science project or design a lasting piece of art that we hang in the house. So this experience really turns the family kitchen table into a place of discovery. And it's tailored to any of the ages of your kiddos at home. Our partners send the activity boxes right to the doorstep, so no one has to leave the house. And every day just feels, I think, a little bit more like you're making progress towards the end game. And it's a great way for families to connect. This next experience is called virtual discovery, and I love it for really two big reasons. Number one, it's personal. We all have a different creative spirit, and it allows everyone to choose what passion they want to dive deep on. Maybe it's photography, poetry, drawing. There's really hundreds to choose from. And then secondly, we've packaged this up so you can do it with a buddy and a friend and learn together and collaborate and share in the experience. So our concierge team spends a good bit of time getting to know your employee and what's meaningful to them so that they can pick the one that works best for them. I think it'd be cool if I could finally learn Photoshop during this time. I've wanted to do it for years and I've just never gotten around to it. Or probably you have a pasta maker sitting on the shelf in your kitchen, and that might be the time now to finally learn how to make pasta. These set up a really unique learning experience that, again, is customized for each person's passion and comes along with a learning buddy. The next experience, called Smart Self-Help, is near and dear to my heart because it's focusing on employee wellness and reducing stress. And I know the whole world is feeling a lot of stress right now. And although we've got some work at home things that we're helping each other figure out, I think it's just undeniable that we're trying to relieve stress. So this particular experience sends self-help books to the home over a subscription. And the part that I really like is it includes built-in community. So there's a digital online community where you can connect, discuss what you're reading, as well as a one-on-one coaching session, virtual. So again, when you're at home, you can still reach out and talk through this with a friend. So I do just love the personal self-reflection that comes with this, along with the human connection elements from this experience. And then last but not least is yoga anytime. And I've been practicing yoga for many years, and I often try to get my friends to do it with me. And they always say, I'm just not flexible enough, or I'd be so embarrassed to go into a class for my first time. And so what's really cool about this is that it brings yoga into the home. There's hundreds and hundreds of classes at every level. And you know, people can do this with their family, and so they can try it out. We all know yoga has immense wellness benefits. And I think even for me, my family, they see me go off into the studio and do yoga, and I come home and they're like, oh, she's Miss Zen Master, but I want to do it now with them at home so that they can maybe be exposed to it and I can hook them alongside with me. Stating the obvious, I know we're all really anticipating this return to normal life sooner rather than later. And when we collectively get that green light to get out and about again, all of these experiences are available and ready and waiting for your employees. So a big part of what we do here is we design locally oriented Blueboard experiences, not just typical tourist attractions. For example, I recently saw that one of our employees chose a paddle boarding party with their friends on a lake outside of Las Vegas. And then another person in St. Louis chose a haunted history experience. So you can see how they're really local, interesting, and they often are more than just one person. They can bring a group of friends. Let's stay positive, look forward, anticipate that green light. And beyond the local experiences, for bigger celebrations like 10-year milestones, referrals, above and beyond, performance, President's Club, we hand curate travel experiences. I know it's kind of a funny thing to think about travel right now, but it is kind of exciting to think that one day we will be back out traveling again. And these travel experiences are not just a trip. They are really like once in a lifetime, bucket list worthy, wow experiences. You can see there's one on there, the Northern Lights. That's my personal bucket list. And just how cool is it when you are the reason that your employee gets to realize this dream. And so at Blueboard, we really want your employees to build a lasting memory first, and we want them to associate it with you, their employer. I've heard people say, you know, my company sent us on this epic dive trip to the Great Barrier Reef. I'd also love to hear, I finally saw the Chargers win the Super Bowl, and that's because I got a reward from my employer. Truth be told, the Chargers may never make it to the Super Bowl, so that's sad, but you get what I'm saying. And lastly, you know, beyond the experience, beyond the moment of truth, why I really love Blueboard is that experiences are memorable and they're fun to share. We live in a social media world, obviously, and people just love to share what they've gone out and done, their adventure, their achievement, and they love to share it on social media. We also facilitate this with a variety of different Slack integrations and Chatter and other ways to help them do that. You know, you see real life stories like, hey, I just made this linguine recipe from scratch with the help of a private chef, like check it out. And like, there's a big bowl of pasta. Or you see, you know, a lava volcano that families made with their kids. And honestly, these are the things that bring people together. They bring teams together as a community, and especially during these times of separation. I'm also excited now to have Shannon show how we're building that same sense of community at Blueboard while we've adapted to a fully remote workplace.
Thanks, Michelle. So I'm excited to share some of the things that we are actually doing inside of our team and our community. I've been admiring some of the comments in the chat panel that other folks are doing. Shout out to those who are playing trivia and running bingo games. I think all of these efforts help employees just feel connected and really sort of just maintain a level of engagement and just communication that's so important in this time. And so, you know, my part of this is to talk about those little things that we're doing at Blueboard, maybe give you guys some helpful ideas. So one of the ones that we have kicked off since we all became work from home is question of the day prompts. And these are sort of a variety of different types of questions that just generate and stir conversation. Sometimes it's laughs, sometimes it's motivation, sometimes, you know, it's sharing something personal. We have this really unique opportunity for people to kind of give us a little glimpse inside of their lives. And so the way that I've been trying to design questions are questions that are going to make us feel good, that are going to get the day started off right, and just stimulate ways for people to find connection that they might not have otherwise found. So a few of the top kind of question ideas are nostalgia and fun, just things like, you know, what board games did you like to play? What's one of your most memorable experiences on the playground? You know, what's the best or worst haircut that you've ever had? Things like that, where people are looking backward and reflecting on something in life, but also sharing with their coworkers. In addition, you know, those personal stories, those practices and habits, people like to see inside other people's worlds. And so sharing, you know, what's the favorite piece of art that you have inside your house? Or what's your morning routine? What's your coffee that you make? Or, you know, what did dinner look like for everybody? We love to just kind of like get that eye inside, and we find that our team is really responsive to those kinds of questions. And then last, you know, Morgan did a great example of this when we kicked off this webinar. Is just positivity and gratitude. We're all looking for something that's just kind of warm to hold on to right now. And putting out a prompt, you know, just once a week even, that says, what are you thankful for? Or, you know, who do you have on this team to give a shout out to? Those sorts of things. Those make people feel really good, and that feeling sort of just like expands on the online environment and leads to more motivation and more engagement. It just helps people stay connected. So this is one of our tools that we're using.
And to add here, Shannon, one of our favorite outcomes from these quotes of or questions of the day, as you guys see on the screen, Shannon asked everybody what their favorite feel-good song was, and one of our teammates produced it into a playlist that now a lot of us are playing at home, which has been so fun. So not just having the conversation, but also having that item that we can continue to play and dance around the house if we want or whatever. But that was also a really fun note here. So
100%. So another thing that we've been doing that we've had just really sort of great feedback and engagement on is we've been helping our team stay well and stay connected through employee-led virtual courses. And that actually came about really organically. We announced that we were all going to move to work from home, and employees started raising their hands and saying, oh, could I lead a yoga class from home? Oh, if we're going to have yoga classes, let's also do a HIIT class. Maybe we can also do a meditation class. Or one of our employees said, you know, I'd love to show a tour of my plants in my home and help teach others about how to take care of all of their little green friends inside of their houses. This one's been really interesting for us because what I've noticed is that it's especially awesome for inclusivity. We have some employees who are more introverted or who may not feel comfortable physically engaging in an activity with their coworkers. So if we've done yoga at the office, they might not have participated. Now we're doing it at home, and you can turn off your screen, you know, you can turn off the video, and you can push your comfort zone and try something new. so we're seeing these new leaders emerge, people who might not have stepped up to take the microphone in the office are doing public speaking. They're leading a class. They are sort of testing their own skills and boundaries and developing new skills through the process of this. So I've really just been loving that aligns very well with our desire to, help everybody find opportunities to participate and lead at the organization. Another thing that's just been really exciting is that when we create the opportunity for people to lead these courses and we highlight them and we say, hey, great job, we really appreciate that Grace led this class or that Lindsay led a meditation this morning, it puts the spotlight on new faces when we call them out. And I think those little moments of recognition are so powerful. People are reaching out, they're saying, I have something to offer. And we as like a leadership team and as managers are saying, thank you. We really appreciate that. That makes a difference. And in this time, that kind of attitude and that response and reaction just is really like sort of regenerative for the team. They feel great hearing I did something that mattered to everybody else. And so we're taking extra special care to call them out, congratulate them, whether that's publicly in our Slack channels or whether that's privately one-to-one saying, thank you so much, that made a difference in my life today. Another thing we're doing that I'm seeing quite a bit of in the chat, switching to online happy hours, those virtual events to just kick up our feet together and have fun. As you might have guessed from what Michelle was talking about, Blueboarders love blueboarding. We love to go out, we love to laugh, we love to have adventures together and be a little silly. And so we had to think about, about like, how do we do that, but online? And, one of the ways that we've done, we're doing some gaming online. We've also done happy hours. And for the happy hours, we split into small themed rooms, Zoom rooms, that our employees just kind of had to guess what they were getting. So one of them was a costume party. One was had a fuzzy name related to Scotch, but ended up being about Scotch tape, not Scotch the drink. And so we're just trying new things to kind of delight and surprise our employees. Whenever we plan experiences for people who are heading out in the world, surprise and delight can be a part of that. And when we think about how do we bring that inside, how do we do it from home, this is one of those ways, right? Like not just same old, like everybody get online, have your beer, and it's going to be great. But what can we do to be a little quirky, to be a little fun? One of our values at Blueboard is to dance a little different. And so we try to approach these happy hours just a little differently. I'll note in that Zoom screenshot you see right there, that's our CEO and the giant cow head. Somehow he just had that lying around for this occasion. So the fun runs deep at Blueboard, and we found that in this kind of uncertain and challenging time, we need these moments to just sort of release pressure and relax with each other and laugh. Another thing that we've been doing that's been just like really, I think, awesome from an HR perspective is, really seeing our team pounce on the opportunity to learn right now. We're seeing this unprecedented number of free webinars. We're seeing conferences move online. We're seeing training content that is just being made available publicly so that people can feel like, their brains are kicked into gear and they're getting what they need in this time. Our team, the Blueboard team is taking part in this. We are enjoying ingesting the learning material, also creating it. That's why we're here today with this webinar. And one of the things that we've done related to learning and development is we've got this Slack channel where we're sharing what we're learning, and also it's become this space of real motivation for people. People are providing peer-to-peer encouragement when someone says, oh, I'm listening to this webinar, or I'm practicing this skill, or I've decided that during this time, as Michelle mentioned, I'm going to learn something. We're seeing our colleagues sort of step up and say, that's so awesome, Kaylee, like show us your progress. Like if you're learning how to paint while you're working from home, show us what your painting looks like this week and show us what your painting looks like next week. We're just creating this environment where people can celebrate their achievements and their wins and build sort of these accountability partnerships and also build their skills. And then because that's all public, because it's all in this Slack channel, we can shout those people out more more publicly to the larger community. So again, recognizing that every little bit of effort people are making right now is valuable, and that we appreciate the learning that people are putting in is really awesome. On this note, we are actually hosting another webinar next week if that is of interest to you. We are going to have a webinar with our friends at Culture Amp called How Your Values Come to Life During Uncertain Times. You've heard me mention our values a few times here, and I think, you know, the bottom line is that your values are more important than ever right now. So we would love to welcome you to participate in that. If you would like to, you can visit our site. Maybe Morgan can provide a little bit more information and sign up. Morgan, do you want to hop in and give the details on how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just dropped in a note just for everybody. I'll resend it because the C fell off of my note. Effectively, we're going to be talking about two exciting things. We'll talk about one other item called Lift Up next. But yes, on our resources page, if you go through that link, you can sign up for the Culture Amp webinar now. Definitely a very exciting topic, like Shannon mentioned. Values are ultimately the foundation to your employee experience, and they're stretching and changing now. And for those of us who really choose to recenter around the power of what values can do for unifying your organization, will come out of all of this really thriving versus just surviving. So we'll be talking about a lot of that with Josh Berman, who is Culture Amp's Culture Enablement Lead. So he is in a very similar role to Shannon, leading their people efforts. So please join us next Thursday. And I'll pass it back over to you, Shannon.
Thanks, Morgan.
Yeah.
Then, you know, one of the other things I've been doing is sort of peppered it throughout each of the other slides I've talked about, but it's really important right now to acknowledge that everyone is going through a different experience. You know, some days folks are going to be able to be star performers. They're going to be able to, you know, make that deck or push forward that product innovation or, you know, cross off everything on their to-do list. Other days, you know, they're going to be overwhelmed by the state of the world. They're going to be thinking about their family and friends that are in rough places. They might be juggling their toddlers who are trying to join in their conference calls. And we just really recognize at Blueboard that everybody is trying to do their best right now. So in sort of honor of that, we've asked our managers to have more frequent team gatherings. I noticed in the chat that a lot of other people are doing that as well. Those daily stand-ups, those gatherings that get people together, and to take time in each of those meetings to acknowledge employee achievements, big and small. It doesn't have to be the work achievement. It can be, you know, that you spent time with your kid this morning and were able to help them have a good start to the day. It can be that you know, finally changed out of your pajama pants and wore your jeans for the first time this week. Or, you know, maybe it is a work achievement that you have lent a hand to a coworker. But essentially, we are taking the time in all of the meetings and encouraging managers to really devote interest in and celebrate the achievements that our teams are having, shining spotlights across people and delivering. We call them snaps when they're live because, you know, it's too loud to clap when you're on a Zoom. But, you know, snaps to the folks that are doing the best they can in a challenging time. So what you see here on the slide is our wins and shout outs from our all hands. And you'll see here, these aren't necessarily all about work, right? Like one of them is about leading a course in the morning. The other is about that playlist on Spotify that an employee created. And then the other is about, you know, hard work that a team is doing. And so I think just having space and time for folks to recognize and really applaud the efforts of their colleagues is incredibly important in this time. Which leads me to an exciting new thing that Blueboard has made available for you, which is we are launching an amazing new tool called Lift Up that will allow you and people on your team to give shout outs to someone across the organization. You can simply visit the link and share encouraging notes, shout out people, and just really help increase the sense of motivation and sense of value that people have in these unprecedented times. I think I'll pass it back to Morgan to tell a little bit more about that. We're really excited about it, and we just hope that these little tips and tricks around creating opportunities for people to do things and then recognizing people for doing those things will help all of you maintain high spirits, maintain morale, and really encourage your workforces to make their way through this tough time. If we can be helpful at Blueboard, we would love to be.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shannon. And just a little bit more on Lift Up. Really, this is our answer to helping build community and connection while we're all away. Just like I started off this morning, recognition is so important now. You don't get to see everybody. You don't have those body language cues like you used to. So it's important to really make that extra effort to show people that they're seen and valued, and especially for those that are hustling and grinding more than ever, whether they're out in the field as a healthcare worker, whether they're helping to repivot and change your business or work with customer service inquiries that are coming in floods, right? All of those people who are really stepping up, even new leaders like Shannon mentioned. This is a tool first and foremost for you to appreciate them, to show them that you care, to show them that you see what they're doing, that their work matters. But to make it a little fun, we also want people to treat themselves. So we'll be giving away a pair of Blueboard awards every week to the sender and recipient of those recognition notes, just as a fun way for you to not only maybe try some of the experiences that Michelle mentioned, those in-home treat yourself moments or times to really learn something new while we're having this extra time to be at home, or to anticipate something to do in the future. So please, first and foremost, take a moment to recognize someone today. It'll brighten their day, it'll lift them up. And then of course, we'll look forward to the opportunities to send somebody Blueboarding as well. Great, so I think actually, Shannon, unless you had anything else, that brings us to our Q&A, and we rolled through things pretty quickly, so we definitely have time for questions. One that has been kind of popcorning around in the chat came from Carolina. And Carolina, I appreciate your question so much. We did talk about a lot of ways to recognize people just now, but yours is really specifically to those who aren't really able to work from home. They're still very essential to your business, and they are being out and about during this period, right? They might be a healthcare worker. They might be someone who has to physically go into an office to get their job done. So those people might need a different type of recognition. Wanted to throw that out to the group if there's any ideas, if they're not, connecting on Zoom, because so many of the ideas we had there, what are maybe some other formats that we could explore for recognizing? Just on my end, a quick idea, if you're still issuing corporate communications through email, maybe company newsletters, things like that, those are still places of real estate that you can spotlight people who are going above and beyond. But Shannon or Kevin or Michelle would love to hear if you have additional ideas of how to make those people feel special as well.
I can definitely hop in on this. Kevin, you can go next. So one of the things that I have seen and just really love in this area is recognizing that a lot of the people who are essential workers right now and who are, sort of out in the world are serving our community. And so leveraging the community is a great way to provide recognition for them. Having people write thank you notes, physical thank you notes, or having a board where people can physically see the appreciation and gratefulness of others who are, receiving service from those, I think is really important. Even, a lot of people are just sort of posting signs up that say thank you to our healthcare workers, our grocery store workers. I know, my mom actually lives in the Midwest, and she has been doing, they don't have Postmates and delivery stuff there, but so she's been having to go pick up stuff, and the workers are bringing things out to her car, and she has a little sign that she holds up in her car that says thank you so much, I really appreciate what you're doing, because she's older and she can't roll down the window and she can't say that in person because she's concerned for her health. So encouraging your larger ecosystem and community to participate in that recognition and that giving of thanks, I think is really an important thing to do right now. And Kevin, I'll hand it over to you for your addition on that.
Yeah, no, I saw a really good one being used by a customer around weekly heroes. And it answers kind of another question that came up, was how do you recognize not just what people are doing, but who they are? And so it would highlight, kind of who the person was, a picture, and just talk about, the impact they're having on kind of why they're essential business and the impact they're having on the company. And so I thought that was a really cool way and personal way, not just to talk about the what, but the who.
I'll add one more. I love that idea, Kevin. Sorry, Morgan. The one other thing that I have seen in it that I think is lovely. So Kevin talked a bit about, psychological and physical safety right now. And I think some of those essential workers, they may not be feeling necessarily a lot of psychological and physical safety. And so as you think about rewards and recognition right now, are there things that you can provide to them that will give them that sense? Are there things that you can provide for them in their home that alleviate some of those extra stresses? So that might be something like helping with grocery deliveries. That might be something like, that in-home massage, or that might be something about like a coaching session or, a self-help sort of a mentoring or therapy session where a person who is feeling stressed and feeling overwhelmed by the responsibilities that they have right now can receive this as a reward from you that says, thank you, I know how hard this is right now. Here's something I'm giving to you to help lighten the load.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and kind of just segueing from that, Kevin, you were just mentioning this, but that who they are as an individual is really important. Teresa had a question earlier that was on that same topic. Maybe we can keep the ideas flowing here, but it's not really what they did, but also keeping in mind how that person likes to be appreciated. What are some ways that we can go about finding that way to really recognize that person in a way that's really meaningful to them specifically? I know at Blueboard, we do a few things like culture surveys where we ask, if someone wants to be appreciated or not. Do you want your birthday to be shouted out? We let them provide that and lead the way there. Would love to hear any other ideas of making recognition more personalized that Kevin, Michelle, or Shannon might want to share too.
No, that's a great question. And that was a question I saw. So I actually read that, and I probably read it too quickly, as who they are as a person.
Okay.
And so, but I think, a couple of things that, we've done in the past internally is just kind of make little videos on your cell phone, right? And talk about like one moment that, you remember about that person and why you appreciated them, or, a fun time you had, and send it to them personally, right? It doesn't have to be publicly. And I think it's fun to kind of recount those moments. But also I think it's oftentimes people don't know about those moments and what you appreciated on your end, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd just add that I do think the key is getting to know that employee personally and understanding what matters most to them, because one reward may feel different to an employee versus another, depending on what are their hobbies, what do they really care about. And sometimes that can just be a simple conversation of like, how are you going to spend your weekend? And that can unfold a variety of different ideas of, contributing towards that. Like, we said, the subscription boxes for a meal or something. It's like, hey, I'm going to spend time with my family. Oh, okay, we can make that easier for you. We're going to send you guys meals this weekend that are pre-prepared. So I think it's just a matter of engaging with that particular person and just asking a couple of questions to help guide the next step in rewarding them.
I was going to chip in on this too, that with the how, I think, having a conversation and actually having options is really helpful. People sometimes struggle to choose what the best thing is for them, but if you have 3 choices, they can say, oh, I like that one the most. So a simple example that we have from internally is we've had a few birthdays in the past week. Usually birthdays are cause for celebration in the office, and we surprise people with something at their desk because it's easy to deliver that. But when, many services aren't offering delivery right now and the time frame is a little bit slow and things like that, we had to get creative this week with our birthdays. And so we actually reached out to one of them and said, hey, we were thinking of either sending you flowers or sending you a little box of snacks, or we could get lunch for you and your roommates to celebrate your birthday today. What would work best for you? And she was really excited about the idea of having lunch delivered for her and her roommates, because it felt like, oh, that's what I need today. That's what the right kind of recognition is for me in this moment. All of them were like within our budget, and all were things that we knew that we could achieve. And for her, you know, picking the one that mattered the most made it feel more special, even though it wasn't a surprise.
Awesome. And I was going to say, just on a note, Carolina was asking, you know, how do we make that recognition personalized when we have a really large workforce? That's actually one of the benefits that we offer as a company. And I will run a poll just quickly as we are closing out. If anyone is interested in hearing more about Blueboard, you're welcome to say yes, and we'll get in touch with you afterwards. Carolina, we'd love to talk with you about our solution for that. I wanted to move into another question, though, that came from Mallory, which I think is really important because, and Shannon, I'll probably kick this one over to you because you've been our kind of internal comms master the last few weeks, but she's ultimately asking, how are we staying organized with all of our communication? How do you balance between Slack, between email, what goes where, to make sure that those really important updates related to, you know, our office closing or needing to work from home, make sure that they're seen versus getting lost in the shuffle that Slack can sometimes create. So Shannon, do you want to speak to how we're using communications both for important as well as the lighthearted question of the day type things?
Absolutely. So we recognize that sometimes Slack can turn into a place of distraction. And so we have one channel that is clearly like the main general channel for information that is important. And we also do recognition in that channel because we feel that recognition is as important as, you know, any other top announcement. And so that channel is really just like the most hard-hitting or relevant things that we need the entire workforce to know about. And then we have a lot of other channels that are either employee generated or you know, created by me, and then employees can join by choice, that are focused on some of these other areas. But they definitely have a lot of overlap. The Venn diagram of our Slack is, you know, one big circle and then probably mostly a lot of other circles inside of it for different channels, because most people are in most channels. But I think everyone knows very clearly that they need to pay attention to what's happening in the main general channel, and then everything else is kind of optional. And we found it doesn't get too noisy because people will self-select as to what they are participating in.
Great. Awesome. And I think that might be the last question that we have. If anyone else has any, feel free to drop them in here. Thank you all for being with us. Like I mentioned, we had quite a large group today. I'm so thankful to have everybody joining, especially from home, and spending time with us while everything else has been a little hectic, I would say, the last few weeks. So thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you to our panelists, to Michelle, Shannon, and Kevin. And as we close out, feel free to leave your feedback and continue to stay in touch. If you have written in asking about the webinar next week, again, it's on our resources page, which is blueboard.com/resources. You'll see it at the top there. It will be most likely in the afternoon on Thursday the 2nd, and we're very excited to hopefully see a lot of you again next week. So thank you all. Thank you again, panelists. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, take care.
Bye, thanks
everyone.
everybody.